Welcome back. It's time for another book talk video, but I've got a surprise. Instead of Science Fiction Sunday, it's Shakespeare September, what a lot of people are calling hashtag Shaketimber. So I'm gonna make it Shaketimber Sunday instead. In fact, I plan to do that for the rest of the month probably and talk about some of Shakespeare's plays on Sundays instead of my usual science fiction talks. Today, specifically, I want to talk about As You Like It by William Shakespeare. This is a weird play. I feel it's very different from a lot of other Shakespeare, and part of that is because people mostly know and study Shakespeare's tragedies, and this one's one of the comedies. But it's a weird comedy. The beginning of it feels sort of like a fantasy story or an action story because there's some displacement going on. I also feel like there are a lot of characters at the beginning of the story. Normally with Shakespeare's plays, I have no problem whatsoever figuring out who the main characters are and who I should really focus on, and who the side characters are. But this play actually has an ensemble cast. There's not necessarily one protagonist, so to speak. And so I feel like the beginning of the play could be a little overwhelming if you don't know what you're getting into, because there are a lot of characters you're introduced to at the beginning as you find out that there's some upheaval going on. There's a leader of the people who's being displaced by another one, and there are family members of those people involved, as well as the people at court. And as the people who are removed from power are displaced, there are various people who are moving to the forest instead of staying at the royal court. So you've got to keep track of who all the characters are, how they're related to each other, their allegiances that they have, whether they're staying at the court or going to the forest, and if they went to the forest, who they went to the forest with. And then you have the fun element as a comedy that there are some identity issues being explored here, that some people may in fact pretend to be someone that they're not. So as your brain is trying to wrap itself around figuring out all the characters, you have to remember some of the characters end up with dialogue and disguises, costumes, where they're pretending to be someone different. And it is fun because it's exploring those ideas of gender issues. It does talk about a character who is a woman who pretends to be a man, and then she uses that disguise to go and flirt with the man that she's in love with, but not really, but have him flirt back to her, but not really. It's a pretend scenario, but it's also not. So levels of meaning, layers of meaning here, and you almost think that this could be a very current sort of story with those issues being explored. In fact, of the different film versions and performances, I recommend the movie by Kenneth Branagh. I'll put it up on the screen. I think it's a fun one to watch. Normally, Kenneth Branagh is in the play, the film version of it, when he directs it, but he's not this time, unless you count there's a scene in the credits where he yells something like "cut" at the end. He gets like 2 words at the end of the film, but he's not actually on screen. It's just his voice. So if you were hoping for Kenneth Branagh to actually be in this production that he made for the film, he's not. Though the film does great without him. Probably if he was going to be in it, then he would play the role played by Kevin Kline. But Kevin Kline, I think, does a marvelous job, as do all the other actors that are in the play, which means that they really impressed me, because it's got Alfred Molina, that actor that a lot of people know as Doc Ock from some of the Spider-Man films. And quite frankly, I'm not usually a big fan of his acting because of the film Maverick, which I absolutely loved but thought he was the weakest part of the movie. Alfred Molina is great in this play, As You Like It. The end of the play has the wonderful speech by the character that, if you're going to name a protagonist, would be, I suppose, the protagonist, one of the main characters of the play. And there is, of course, a lot of witty banter, a lot of double meaning, innuendo, perhaps sexual references in there, which I believe the title, As You Like It, could also be interpreted in that sort of way. I highly recommend the play, but as always, I would encourage you to not just read it yourself. I think plays are meant to be seen or heard performed, so I would recommend that you find a production that you can watch online, or you get streaming or DVD, Blu-ray of a version like Kenneth Branagh's to where you can watch it as a film version. Even when they make changes for the adaptation, they usually do it for the sake of time and to move the plot along better as a film, and so I think it still serves the film just fine. That's it for today's book talk. I hope you enjoyed this not science fiction Sunday, and you're not too upset about Shakespeare taking over for just a few weeks. Every day is a good day for a book talk. Peace.